So in today's video, I just want to share all the lessons I wish I knew before starting YouTube. I've been on YouTube for about 10 years. I only have 18.4k subscribers. Love all you guys. But I feel like my success could have been a lot better. So hopefully you can learn all the mistakes that I made and have way more than 18.4k subscribers in 10 years. So let's go. I think when I first started YouTube, it was about 10 years ago. I was living at this YouTuber house with my friend Joe, Can, a bunch of the JK News and JK people. And at the time, I had dreams of becoming the next Asian big YouTuber. But somewhere along the way, I got really burnt out. I was chasing views, and honestly, in this current era, I completely stopped just creating and posting altogether, where I eventually hated this whole process. And hell, I actually made some big mistakes, I made some bad hires, right? Bad video hires that took advantage of me. I promoted a ClickFunnels guru course. Whoops. And that's probably one of the reasons why I just give all my information for free going forward. And I need to be also very real with you guys. This YouTube persona that I was kind of turning into was a weird mix of a permanently depressed sad boy and a ClickFunnels guru trying to teach you stuff, but with no product to sell. And honestly, that's not who I am in real life. Obviously, I love business. I am a deep thinker, but I also make a lot of jokes and I don't take myself too seriously. I think it was a snapshot. I was building this habit of being a sad boy when I was in a very, very depressed stage of my life. When I was moving to Vegas, I lost my biggest client, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I was just really, really sad. Can you blame me? And I think one interesting thing is when you watch people like Mr. Beast, they'll tell you to chase the views, the CTR is important, the retention is important. But here's the hard truth. I think one, to be successful on YouTube, you don't need that many views. You need real relationships, because who wants to build dude, it's creepy if I built relationships with a 10-year-old boy on YouTube. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be on Skeeter Gene or whatever, where Chris Hansen impersonator and be on the show. That's weird. But then also the second thing is, by chasing these vanity metrics that don't really matter, I think it's the fastest way to kill your channel. And I learned this the hard way. So in this video, I just want to talk about get real and show you the behind the scenes about the mistakes that nearly destroyed my passion, and kind of the future of this channel, what I'm planning to do to kind of do YouTube under what I determine successful in the most resentment-free way, if that makes sense. I have a bunch of lessons, and if I look left, it's because my iPad's there. I don't have all this memorized, dog. All right, lesson one. Going viral early is the worst thing that can happen to you. When I first started YouTube, I got really lucky early on. So at the time, I just moved to California. I just got a pharmacy job. I was making 6 figures, the dream, right? But also, right before I left Boston to go to California, I told myself, hey, it would be so cool to actually meet the YouTubers that I grew up watching, right? JK Films and all that. And lo and behold, I go to this popping class with Can, or that Can was hosting, and Joe was there. And I started talking to Joe. Bart opened up Barbell Brigade. I started working out there, chopped it up with Joe. And then Joe invited me to live in this YouTube house. At the time, I was doing YouTube. My first YouTube video was in a car in K-Town. It's how to dominate a saturated industry and stuff. And I was just sharing my story. Video did really, really well, actually, at that time. And then Joe, he gave me an extra shout out. And all these people started following me. That's how I got my first 3,000 subscribers overnight, which was completely crazy. But I also think when people kind of give you shout outs and stuff and all that sort of stuff, when you get quick success and it's not I don't want to say earned, I developed this sense of confidence. It almost feels like getting your black belt if you're 1 year into jiu-jitsu. Do you really deserve that? And when you're tested with other black belts, I just got my purple belt, right? When you're tested against other black belts and they're submitting you, or a purple belt like me comes and submits you, are you really that good? It's not a sense of on. Anyways, during this YouTube thing, I thought I was the complete I thought I was doing everything right, that I was really good at YouTube. And it's this sense of Dunning-Kruger effect. You think you're better than you actually are. Even when I wasn't doing necessarily the right things on YouTube, I felt even right now, I don't even think I'm that great. I ramble on a lot. My hooks aren't that great. My thumbnail game has gotten better because I have a team. But as a YouTuber, I look at myself 10 years out and I don't think I'm that good. And so I made like a lot of mistakes during this time. Like I developed this kind of imposter syndrome, like, oh, do people really like me for me? Or do people just like me because I'm friends with Joe? Or do people just like me for the pharmacy content? Versus like, I kind of developed this like fear that people only like me for what I can do for them, not who I am, you know? And it builds like this transactional relationship, which I didn't really like. But, you know, as I started doing more videos, I noticed like, ooh, my pharmacy videos are doing pretty well. So I started doubling down on viral YouTube videos, like my pharmacy videos. Some of those videos went viral. It's not the one that you're thinking about, don't do pharmacy. That was the one after my workplace found me and fired me. But I started doing that, and then I stopped being boxed in. I went viral for high ticket closing, and I also felt blocked in. And as I mentioned, another video that went super viral is like I interviewed this girl who was a Twitch streamer. She was the first to accidentally leave her camera on, and she did something and went viral through that. At the time, I was just really chasing views and I was making these mistakes. And like I mentioned earlier, I even promoted this Dan Lok high ticket closing guru course, which ended up breaking the goodwill of my audience because I never sold anything at that time and alienating them too. That was a big mistake, but I felt kind of torn because it was a really good program. For me personally, I'm still friends with a lot of those people, and some of those people are like really, really successful too. But, you know, if you watch my videos, I kind of had this like ego or cockiness. I thought I was doing everything right on YouTube. I just needed to pump out more stuff, but I didn't really put the effort to learn the fundamentals. So if I could go back, I would really study the fundamentals. Like I would probably do a program of some sort. I'm going to launch a free course on YouTube pretty soon about like basic thumbnails, basic storytelling, not necessarily scripting, because scripting will you up. Like I'll talk more about this in this video, learning the basic like story structure, and then knowing how to generate like really good ideas that people actually like. And so I would go back and study the fundamentals versus like, you know, try to get like shout outs from people. So another lesson I learned on YouTube was that YouTube courses can make your perfectionism way worse. Being the self-improvement guy, as you can see, I love books, I love learning. It's really important to me to always get better. But at the time, I wanted to get better at YouTube. And I told my editor at this time, and he told me about this guy named Ali Abdal. And I was like, do I really need this course? I think I'm good on YouTube, you know? And my friend at the time, or my video editor, he was like, yo, Kevin, like, I really want to take it. It'd be so cool if you could do it. And I asked him, like, yo, bro, if I invest into this, will you use it? And he was like, yeah, for sure. And he did. But I think this was the punch in the face moment where I realized, oh, I am dumb on YouTube. I'm not treating this truly like a business. And there's just so much I don't know. So it's like drinking out of the fire hose moment that most people talk about. And so I took Ali Abdal's PTYA, I took Matt Diavella's, I took Casey Neistat's, and I learned a lot. Don't get me wrong, I don't regret any of those things. But what I didn't realize was like I started obsessing over perfectionism. And this was a problem that I had back in the day with like school back in the day, like high school, college. I mean, I can talk about it in some other video, but it's basically rooted to my relationship with my dad, and my dad was never there, and I was always trying to seek approval. And I don't know, it's like an insecurity thing, you know? It's even happening in this current video right now, which I'm trying to undo. Like, it didn't happen when I was like creating videos in 2017 at the YouTube house. But I started thinking like, oh, I need to do this. I can do that better. Or I need to redo this hook, you know? Like it even happened 3 times before this video. Just over time, it just became really overwhelming and unpleasant to just shoot content. Like I used to love shooting in public, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, what are these people thinking about me? Oh, like it's just so much chatter in the mind. And so over analyzing everything took up so much of my bandwidth that I wouldn't be like present on the camera like I am right now and just like talking to you guys and the relationship and energy, when I should be like focused on talking to you that is watching this. I'm thinking about, oh, how's this transition gonna look in the edit? Oh, what is the perfect hook? What's the perfect thumbnail that will lure people in, you know? Ironically, it drained the crap out of me. I think about this guy, Charles Poliquin. He's a strength coach. He has some great philosophies. He was in Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans, or I can't remember, Tribe of Mentors, one of those books. at least like once and 3 times on the podcast, which was pretty crazy. But he says it's better to be prolific than perfect. When you're perfect, you just can't do that much work. And yeah, this is what happened to me. I actually ended up doing a lot less. And I think because of that, it ranked me less in the algo. And I think something I learned here was like perfectionism will kill your creativity, your passion, and consistency. And when I say consistency, I don't necessarily mean like putting in hard work. I mean the sustainability of something, which I'll probably talk about later. And so instead of feeling like this pursuit was really, really fun, I started getting anxiety and I started getting pressure, like just doing these videos. And that's why I kind of stripped everything down. I'm not at, well, my studio's up there, but then like I like doing these on the floor videos because 1, I like watching that sort of content, but 2, I got like an OG like 2017 camera just so that it would kind of stimulate those times. I'm actually working on getting a G7X too, but that is expensive as and even though I can afford it, doesn't mean I should buy it, even though it's one of my favorite ones. So basically, if I were to go back in time, instead of focusing purely on the knowledge, purely on the systems, I'd really go back and invest into some sort of mindset coach. Like I've been really into things like Dispenza. I've been into things like therapy. I've been into things like meditation because I'm trying to be a lot more mindful about like my thoughts, and rather than reacting thinking like, oh, I need to do this like thumbnail right while I'm shooting this video, it helps me kind of calm my mind down and turn on the prefrontal cortex, the strategy part of my brain, which is way more important too. I'd probably do that. And it's not only that, also trying to find something that is a bit more sustainable, a format that is a bit more sustainable for me versus like trying to do the best content, because at the end of the day, like your perfectionism will creep. What you think is perfect one day might not be perfect the next day. Okay, let's go into the next lesson. Niching is the fastest way to burn out. So for the longest time, even people today, like especially young kids, they tell me like, hey, if you want to go viral, you need to niche down. And every business guru will tell you like, hey, niche down, niche down, niche down. And I bought into that. Because the truth is, when you do look at these niche channels, they blow up, they do really, really well. It's really great if you have an offer at the bottom of the funnel, but like for personal branding, I don't think this is that great. But guess what? I tried it. So for a while, I just made videos about pharmacy, which I got really bored of. I want to blow my brains out because you can only talk about pharmacy stuff for so long. Same thing for high-ticket closing. I got really bored of that. And a lot of you guys don't know this, but I used to have an investing course back in the day in like 2018 and all that. And I created a separate channel called Kick-Ass Investing. I think the links are dead. I do want to make the course free again. But what no one tells you is that you kind of can outgrow your niche. As people, like we're not one-dimensional people. We outgrow things. And for me, I've always wanted a personal brand type of thing. That's one thing I do respect about Ali Abdaal, is that he was really great at transitioning between his doctor career and his YouTube career and like being a productivity guy. And so I, at the time, didn't really have a good transition plan. And that's something I regret. I probably should have had a strategist to like just talk things out and just be like, hey, how do I transition this like really niche thing? And what I learned, especially through my friends, like now that I get to know like people like Vanessa really well, and my friend Mike Kim, who's a branding expert, he worked with the John Maxwell Group, and I think he helped write Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. What I realized is that these people, like over time, niching is really good for initial growth, but niching also can burn you out a lot faster than you think because your interests involved. And if you don't allow room for that growth, like it's just unsustainable. You just don't want to do it. It's kind of like when I was a kid, I used to love playing with Legos, but now like I'm 36. If I still play with Legos or only played with Pokemon cards or only did something from my childhood, would I still enjoy it? Probably not. And so if the lesson I learned here, if I were to go back in time, instead of like talking about one type of niched content or like one content format, like I see this guy, he's blowing up, his name is Sir Yacht, and all he does is just food challenges. But I can see him in like maybe 10 years getting really, really bored of like, oh, I only ate In-N-Out for 3 days. Like you can only do that for so long, right? But if I could go back, I create more of a portfolio of content. Like when I think about content, I think about discoverable. So that's your viral content that like cold audiences will find. You have your community content, which is like, you know, like your day ones, your 1,000 true fans, and just like, yeah, get to know me type of stuff, right? The sales. And when I think sales, I think more conversion. It's like not direct to offer conversion, but like promoting different things like your newsletter and all these other things too, right? So like, I think my product videos are a good example of that. But I would probably create a bigger portfolio of content personally, and I think that is more sustainable and it's better for a personal brand. And what I find is that you're able to incorporate these different brand elements. Like, a lot of people don't know, I love jujitsu, man. It's one of my favorite things, but I wouldn't want to only be a jujitsu channel. You know, there's a lot of life lessons I love from it. And so I think about these themes of personal development and business lessons that I just love. So yeah. Okay, the next lesson I learned is that chasing money and views is the fastest way to kill your channel. So at one point, I think it was like 2018, I became really obsessed with numbers, views, subscribers, AdSense, and all that sort of stuff. This is when I hired my first like editor and stuff. And at the time, I became really viral for my pharmacy videos because I did a controversial take. I was like, don't do pharmacy, here's why. And I promoted like freaking Dan Lok and stuff at the end, which I kind of regret, honestly. But it is a very good video because at the time it was like the first. No one was really talking about the truth behind like what it was like. I mean, all my friends were talking crap about pharmacy and how they hated their careers. But then when you go on YouTube, everybody's like, it's so great. I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really bad. But because of that video going viral, I felt like the need to like double down on that sort of content, or like double down on content I was going really viral for. Another video at the time after I quit pharmacy was like, I promoted this like Dan Lok's course. It was a ClickFunnels Guru course, which, you know, he didn't have the best reputation, but I was really torn because it was actually a really good program, like for me personally, because I met a lot of cool people. Like, I do high ticket sales for Ali Abdal now. So it wasn't the course that really taught me anything, but it was the course that kind of introduced me to a new business model. And then it also introduced me to a lot of cool people that I'm still friends with today. But by promoting a course, not only a course with like kind of a shady type of guy, he wasn't shady at first, but he definitely changed his branding midway and I had to separate everything. But it killed a lot of my trust and goodwill over the years that I was building because I never sold anything at this time. And even worse, I started creating a lot of content because that video went viral and people like, I was like, you know, Dan Lok in every single video. Like, I had affiliate links everywhere. I did a few things wrong. It's like, one, I was tying my brand as an affiliate to a product, which I don't feel too good about because like, if it's not your own product and you actually have a separation, what does that do to your brand, right? It's weird. Then the niching with high ticket closing was stupid too because I was brand new at it. I didn't even know if I really wanted to do it in the long run. It just so happens I was good at it. The third thing I didn't realize was like, yo, if you put your name with this like company or brand, how do you know that they won't change in the future? Because Dan Lok in this case, he stopped making it really intimate and started scaling, and he started neglecting fulfillment and stuff too. I mean, to be fair too, I think a lot of people who were buying the program, they want to start a business, they want a business made easy, but business is never easy. It's kind of like that Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Just like YouTube, like everybody thinks doing YouTube is really, really easy. It's actually not. There's just so many tangential skills that you have to learn, and it takes time. And I think a part of a huge battle is just like you stay in the game long enough to keep on learning. Yeah, I would get views, but then I felt like the relationships were kind of crappy. And then there was a point where like, you know, the interest in the market of high ticket sales and pharmacy weren't as high as before. I came to this point where I would refresh my analytics, praying to the algo gods that, oh, I hope YouTube will like promote this video. And if the numbers weren't going up and they weren't doing well, I felt like I was failing. And this happened for the last 3 years. Like, I haven't had too many breakout videos since. I think it has to do with a lot of like my position in my channel, the hooks, the retention. But I think the biggest thing is like, I'm adding nothing new to the market. I'm just like a copycat of broke Alex Hormozy, or I'm a copycat of a shitty version of Dan Koh, Vanessa Lau, Chris Do, all these people that you probably watch yourself. Like, I'm just a watered down version of that. And I didn't want to be like that too. I felt like the views and the revenue, it just took me away from really creating meaningful relationships with you, like people that watch me for me. You know, some people like on here might just watch me because you like me for what I can do for you, but I really want to build relationships with people who actually really like me. If I could go back in time, I would focus on making content that I feel that needs to go out in the world versus solely what the algorithm wants to promote or what the world wants. It's really interesting. Vanessa Lau, she had this really great quote on her 13 like content secrets that she wished she knew or something like that. I don't remember. It was a really long title, but it was one of the best videos, my favorite videos by Vanessa. And she's like saying, don't feed the pig. And I agree. Just because something goes viral doesn't mean that you should double down on it, especially if you don't want to be known at that. And I think sometimes we can get so caught up in the analytics and the trends and what's working where we kind of forget, like, we don't want to be a Mr. Beast clone. We want to create our own intellectual property and just do what's out there. It's kind of like knowing what's out there, being aware of what's out there, but creating our own unique stuff. Charles Poliquin, that strength coach I was talking about earlier, he has a great quote saying, do today what others will copy tomorrow. Be confident. And I think like something important is to focus on what I think needs to go out there, what I think is going to innovate like the industry, what I think is going to leave a legacy and leave the world a better place, because that means a lot to me. And also, probably don't promote a ClickFunnels guru dummy. Like, yeah, that's one thing I would not do too. So the next lesson I learned was your YouTube persona can become your worst enemy. I think it's important to just be very, very, very careful about like your YouTube persona. See, when I was first doing YouTube, I didn't really think about a persona. I was just being myself, doing whatever. People would say, oh yeah, you're just like a lot like your videos, right? And I think this is fine at first, but over time, as you kind of do this YouTube thing, you kind of like unconsciously build up this persona. Like for me, when I'm in front of the camera, I think about like, oh, this is kind of like how I used it for therapy back in the day, right? I used to use like YouTube I didn't do therapy at the time, and I just used to trauma dump all my problems on YouTube, and it would just really, really help me too. But I don't think that's the best way to create content. And so I was kind of stuck in that 25 to 30-year-old sad boy era of like just dumping everything. And everything got significantly like a lot worse when I was going through my sad boy era, when I was moving to Vegas and everything wasn't going in my favor. And so like with time, I noticed my YouTube persona, or the person I was on YouTube, because I turned on this camera and I just vent, I realized that person was really just a sad version of me, like that sad, depressed sad boy and a ClickFunnels guru that I was talking about. It was kind of weird because since I was kind of depressed, when I made the content, I also felt really, really depressed. And so this was like the real big disconnect from my real self and this online YouTuber. And so what happened over time was like, I just didn't really enjoy the content I was making. It's not the content that I would really watch personally. And it just drained my energy every single time I came here too. So it didn't really hit me until I had this mastermind. The mastermind is like one of my paid products. Yeah, not promoting it. It's not the right video for this. But like during the mastermind, my friends and clients were like, hey, how you are in real life is totally how different from your online persona. I was like, oh shoot, this is really, really interesting. And so I started thinking about like, oh, what's the differences? And one of the things is like, I love joking. I don't try not to take myself too seriously. I love memes. I love like freaking talking about future, Metro Boomin. I love jujitsu. There's so many things that I just love, you know, that I don't really talk about on my channel. And I feel like those elements of that authenticness and just like the real talks are kind of gone. I kind of stripped it away because I was being so perfect. I just want to get rid of every imperfect thing and just cover it up behind this insane production quality that wasn't even that good, because I'm not even like a Matt Diavella or a film producer or anything like that. That's crazy. You can tell I have a lot of regret. But if I were to go back in time, I would focus on creating content based on the person I am right now, not who I was like 5 years ago, right? And that's a thing too. Like if you associate like yourself with the views and all that, the truth is that you're going to grow, and some people are just going to outgrow you too. Vanessa has this really great quote, like from that 13 video thing. Actually, this video is really inspired by her. I would highly recommend that you check it out. But create content that captures who you are in this moment of time. And that is so true. Like, I would create content based off of this moment in time. So that's why recently I went back to Boston. I started shooting again and vlogging again, and just like creating content on the things I'm learning right now, things that I'm doing for Ali Abdal, like all these different things. Like, as I go to Asia, I'm going to capture a lot of those moments. I feel like I missed out during that sad era of time because I didn't really want to show it. I was very depressed, and I think like going forward, I want to show kind of the more vulnerable parts of my life, the things I'm insecure about. Chris Do said, hey, if you want to build, the best thing you can do for your personal brand is go to therapy. And that's very, very true. The next lesson I learned is that pivoting isn't the same as failing. So last year, I really considered throwing everything away and going to get a job. At the time, just to get a little more vulnerable with you guys, I burned through a lot of my savings. I still had money. I still had investments. I still had like money elsewhere. I pretty much burned through most of my runway, and I didn't know what to do next. Luckily, I did have some like affiliate deals that were bringing cash flow, but it's like, dude, I live in the States. It's like pretty expensive. I think at the time, part of me just wanted to give up, and I remember applying to a few sales jobs. I was considering like maybe a pharmacy job, but I just didn't want to do that because it was very like draining at the time, and I just had a bitter taste in pharmacy after all these years. And who knows if people would actually hire me as a pharmacist. I've been 5 years out. But during this time, I had some companies reach out to me for affiliate marketing that did really well. If you just bought any of those products, I really, really appreciate you guys, and my team appreciates you, because we're going through a really, really rough time. We lost a lot of revenue through AdSense too at that time. At that time, I started meeting more creator friends, like people from Christo's Pro Group, amazing community by the way, PTYA of course, and just other creators. Like, you know, when you start making friends with creators, people would be like, hey, you should meet this person, you should meet that person, and that really fueled my energy more. And then the cool part too, last year around this time, I became super spiritual almost. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a crystal bro. Well, I can't be a crystal bro. I can chop it up with crystal girls and crystal bros. But for me, I just wrote down, I'm like, honestly, universe, God, whatever's out there, I really need a lot of help because I can't do this anymore. And then all these cool opportunities started to come my way, right? Like, for example, Ali and their team asked me to help them with high ticket sales. I started getting more coaching inquiries. It was just really, really cool during this time. I mean, I did a recent video about all the income streams I make. Like, it's not always going to be like this, but this month I was doing anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 per day, which was really, really cool. And it's only the start. I kind of realized because of this moment, because I've had all these networks and friends and joined these masterminds and stuff, and I invested in myself, I will probably never go broke because I always know someone in the industry that needs my help, my expertise, and appreciates it too. So I think that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. Which reminds me, you know, before I had this purple belt, my blue belt is somewhere over in the other corner. But it reminds me of this like saying in jiu-jitsu where it's like, you only fail if you stop showing up. And like for me, that's why I keep on doing YouTube. I keep a team because it holds me accountable. Because honestly, it's so easy to just quit if I did not have a team. And in jiu-jitsu, as long as you keep going, you keep learning, you keep showing up to practice and evolving, there's always a chance to rebuild over again. And the crazy part is, like, despite all the crap that happened to me, like losing my clients, all that sort of stuff, right? It's just like getting punched in the face with business. It's not a typical 9 to 5, and anybody that deludes you with that is like, I don't know, I think it's doing justice about real business. But like, despite everything, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I didn't die, right? I didn't go commit bankruptcy. And even if I did, so what? It doesn't mean anything. And so despite all the ups and downs, like, I'm still here. And my YouTube channel is like, this is just a pivot. Just because the market has changed, I've changed, like a lot of things have changed, just means I need to make a change with the channel. But if I were to go back in time, I would really focus on actually making a lot of creator friends to remind me that my identity is not based on like the metrics. Like, creator friends are the best investment I ever made because they help reset my mind. They help like remind me about like my mission, my vision, and they help also remind me why I started in the first place. Of course, like if you want to join my mastermind, I can pitch that. But like I said, I don't really want to talk about that right now. I'll probably do a separate video on that whole thing too. So the last lesson I'm learning is to focus on sustainability instead of consistency. In this new era, I think about rebuilding my channel in a way that is sustainable. A lot of times when we think productivity or consistency, we think about putting more hard work into something, and that's how we're going to be consistent. It's a very brute force way, but something I think about is how, Ali says this all the time, how do we reduce the friction of things? And I think about okay, the content. Is the content I'm doing meaningful and not passionate, but do I feel like it's really gonna leave a legacy and help other people in the future? Right? I think that's one thing. The other thing too is I think about is this content that I enjoy in the moment? So right now I enjoy a lot of different tech reviews, these sit down videos in the bedroom on the floor and just chatting. That's why I'm doing it right now. I love Vanessa Lau's new era of YouTube, her recent videos all stripped down. I like Dan Koh's kind of philosophical things. I love podcasts, and I just love videos with really great storytelling. So there's that. The other thing I'm thinking about is more logistical, but in terms of staffing and stuff, I have a thumbnail designer, I have an editor, I have a secondary editor, and I think about these things, and these things actually help reduce my perfectionism in my mind too, because the more checkpoints I have, the better. And then I also have my mastermind who can look over my thumbnails and all that too, in addition to that. And then I also have I signed up for Dr. K's Healthy Gamer GG's mental health coaching too, and that really helps because it's another avenue where I can just talk about what I'm thinking and stuff. I actually have a session in 2 hours. It's kind of funny. I also want to talk about the things that I really love and share more about my personal life, bring in my own personal humor to the things I love. So I love high ticket sales, I love jujitsu, I love personal development and making friends, but I'll never be a straight relationship channel. I'll never be a straight business channel. It's just not who I am, if that makes sense. I want to bring in kind of my humor and stuff like that. I'm not a meme boy, but I do love city boy things. I love future memes on Hoodville and stuff. I love jujitsu memes and all that. And if I do all this and the numbers don't skyrocket, I'm completely okay with that. I'd rather accept authenticity than the millions of views, the Mr. Beast. Honestly, when I see Mr. Beast and his whole allegation stuff, I would never want that. I don't want to cater to kids. I want to cater to people aligned to the same values as me. You guys probably didn't know this, but I love human design. I love so many different things. I want to share more of those brand elements into my content. At the end of the day, I'm okay. I don't need millions. I just love to build my true 1,000 fans. And if I don't do that, I'm still proud of myself either way for making this content and for still continuing this journey too, man, despite all that sort of stuff. My goal at the end of the day is just to make the world a better place. I'm really inspired by people like Charles Poliquin, where he used to donate 10% of all his revenue to profit to off time. He would also donate another additional 10% to causes that he really gave a about. One of them was sex trafficking, and he would say something very, very powerful where he's whenever you take a seminar with me, you take a child away from prostitution. And so he's gone now. I'm not sure if anybody's really continuing his legacy, but I like to continue it because I think that's one thing, left, right, conservative, whatever, in a world that's so polarizing. I think most people, besides Epstein or something like that, I think most people agree that we need to protect the kids. We need to give kids a better life. And whatever cause you believe after that, it all trickles down and it'll make the world a better place. So just know that whenever you watch my videos, whenever you buy my products, whenever you support me, you're taking a kid away from child prostitution as well. Yeah, but in general, YouTube's been a really difficult journey, but I'm excited for this new chapter, this new era of sitting on the floor, which is probably better for my back. I used to sit down a lot. If you're an OG fan, drop a comment. Just let me know. I would love the love. I haven't seen a lot of your usernames I remember, and it would just be cool just to see everyone drop in. And let me know, what do you watch my channel for? What is stuff that you love, me creating? Is there anything that you're super curious about? Let me know, because I'm actually really monitoring the comments recently and just getting inspired by your feedback. But I'm really excited for this new chapter. If you guys want to stay connected, I have an email newsletter, refugeehustle.com/join. I think it's under that URL. It'll be in the description. Here's another video that the YouTube algo thinks that you'll love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, my people. Bye.